You to this meeting to discuss the traffic calming plan for Dominion Reserve Drive. We can begin with introductions, and tonight from FCDOT we have Ryan O'Carroll, Grace Vaughn, and Nicole Machakwe. And from the Drainsville District Supervisor's Office we have Natalie Simpson. Ryan has a short presentation to go through, and after the presentation we'll open the meeting up to the community for any questions or comments that they might have. And also, if any of the community's task force members are logged on to tonight's meeting, they can introduce themselves following the presentation if they would like to. Natalie, do you have anything to say before we start the meeting or the presentation? I'm sorry.
Nothing really new to add. Just if anyone has any questions along the way, feel free to reach out to me. My email is nataliesimpson@fairfaxcounty.gov, and I will be coordinating with FCDOT throughout this process. So feel free to reach out at any point.
All right, thank you, Natalie. And Ryan, if you're ready, you can go ahead and start the presentation.
Sure, thanks, Steve. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're going to discuss the traffic calming program for Dominion Reserve Drive. Please note that this session is being recorded and may be shared on social media. Please hold all questions until the end of the presentation. And instructions for how to ask your questions will be provided at the end of the presentation. So today, we are here to explain the traffic calming process, provide an opportunity for community feedback, and answer any questions anyone may have. So what is traffic calming? Traffic calming is the installation of physical devices to reduce vehicle speed. These devices can either be vertical or horizontal. Vertical devices are driven over, such as the speed hump shown in the upper left-hand corner. Horizontal devices can be driven around, such as the raised median island shown in the upper right-hand corner. Both types of devices make the roadway safer for drivers and pedestrians. Please note that through this process, we are not permitted to install stop signs. Here we have charts and images showing the effects of decreased speed. As speed decreases, visual acuity, field of vision, and depth perception increase. Also, with reduced speed, we can see a decrease in stopping distance. Here is a map displaying traffic calming projects across Fairfax County. With over 279 projects resulting in more than 665 devices countywide, every district has implemented traffic calming measures. The chances that you've driven over one are quite high. FCDOT and the District Supervisor's Office collaborate with citizens on all community-initiated projects. The program can be broken down into 5 steps. Step 1 is project initiation. Step 2 is plan development. Step 3 is community engagement. Step 4 is the ballot phase. And the final step is Step 5, project installation. All traffic calming projects are community initiated. The process begins with a request from the community to the supervisor's office. Once a request is received, FCDOT will complete a basic eligibility review. If eligible, FCDOT will then conduct a traffic study. And if the eligibility and traffic study requirements are met, the community will then form a task force. To meet the basic eligibility requirements, the roadway must be VDOT maintained, have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, be functionally classified as local, collector, or arterial, and if it is a collector or arterial, it needs to be a residential street. Once passing basic eligibility requirements, we move on to conduct a traffic study. For the volume criteria, we need between 500 to 6,000 vehicles in 24 hours, both directions combined. For Dominion Reserve, we had 942 vehicles, so we met the volume criteria. For the speed criteria, the recorded 85th percentile speed needs to be greater than or equal to 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. This means that 15% of vehicles will need to be traveling at 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit or faster in at least one direction of travel. The 85th percentile speed was 42 miles per hour in the northbound lane and 38 miles per hour in the southbound lane, which means that Dominion Reserve Drive met the speed criteria in both the northbound and southbound lanes. The next step is plan development. FCDOT will conduct a site visit in the field in order to develop a draft plan. Once a draft plan has been developed, FCDOT will meet with the task force to obtain feedback and amend the plan if necessary. Then once the task force is satisfied with the draft plan, property owners directly adjacent to any proposed measures must sign off on the device placement before proceeding to the next step of the project. There are device placement requirements for vertical devices. The devices must be a minimum of 300 feet between measures and from existing stop conditions, a minimum of 150 feet from intersections, a minimum of 150 feet for continuous sight distance, and it also has to fit within the existing roadway. So we must consider driveways, manholes, utilities, and also the grade of the road. So based on those requirements, we created a field map that gives us an idea of where we can place a device. Highlighted in green are possible locations on Dominion Reserve Drive. After reviewing the field map, we then conduct a field review to see if the device can fit on the existing roadway. Based on available options in our site visit, FCDOT can propose 2 speed tables along Dominion Reserve Drive. The listed addresses of those property owners who sign the adjacent property forms, the APFs, are because the devices are directly adjacent to their property. Here we have the speed table schematic. The speed table is 22 feet long and is 3 inches high at the center. There will be a white chevron in each travel lane and speed hump signs with a recommended speed of 15 miles per hour on each side of the speed hump. Here in this image is the speed table, which would look like from the side of the street, which is 22 feet in length and 3 inches high at the center. Step 3 is the community meeting, which is where we are today. At this stage, FCDOT presents the plan to the community to gather feedback. Based on this feedback, the task force will decide whether to amend the plan or move to the next phase. If the task force decides to move forward, we will move to the ballot phase. During the ballot phase, each occupied property in the ballot area will receive 1 vote and send it directly to the district supervisor's office. The ballot period will be open for a minimum of 3 weeks. The supervisor's office will tally the votes and notify the task force of the result. On this slide, we have an example of a ballot. The proposed devices will be listed on the ballot, and the community will be voting for the entire plan. The task force is responsible for distributing the ballot packages to everyone in the ballot area. There are 3 ways to return your ballot by the deadline. You can mail in your ballot directly to the district supervisor's office. You can hand deliver it directly to the supervisor's office, or you can email it directly to the district supervisor's office. Please note that all ballots must be turned in directly to the district supervisor's office using one of these 3 methods. Any ballots collected by the task force will not be counted. Here's a ballot area map for Dominion Reserve Drive. There are 83 ballots. In order for the proposed plan to move forward, we will need greater than 50% of all occupied properties to vote in favor. So we will need 42 yes votes. And if the required number of yes votes are met, we move forward to step 5, which is project installation. The traffic calming plan will be presented to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for endorsement, and the resolution will be sent to VDOT. Once endorsed by VDOT and accepts the resolution, FCDOT will work with the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services to schedule installation. Finally, the traffic measures outlined in the plan will be installed. After tonight's meeting, the task force will need to do the following next steps. The task force determines and notifies Fairfax County if they would like to move forward with the presented plan. The task force in the supervisor's office will decide and notify if FCDOT and the ballots in the ballot area are distributed to the homeowners or occupants. The task force will receive the ballot cover letter and will complete the form as directed by FCDOT. The task force sends the completed ballot cover letter to FCDOT for approval. Once approved, they will receive the verified ballot package. And for the final step, the task force will need to print and distribute the ballots to all homes in the ballot area. This concludes the presentation, and now we can move on to the questions and answers portion of this meeting. You have 2 options to ask your questions, chat or speak. Once the chat item is activated in Teams, you can use it by typing your question. If you want to speak, please click the raise your hand icon, and once the host calls on you to speak, you can unmute yourself by clicking on the mic icon or pressing Control, Shift, and M on your keyboard. Please lower your hand once you are done asking your question. If you are on the phone, please press *5 to raise your hand. When it is your turn to speak and the host sends you a request to unmute, press *6 to unmute, and you will be able to ask your question. Once you're finished, press *5 again to lower your hand. At this time, please feel free to answer any questions you may have, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, so we have a question or a hand raised from Suzanne. I am not going to pronounce your last name correctly. Sorry if I butchered it, but you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, it's John Feigert with Suzanne here.
Oh, Feigert, okay.
Question, maybe this is for Ryan. You obviously the qualifications for the installing them are met with the speeds. Do we have good evidence that this type of speed calming device reduces speeding? I mean, does it work, I guess is the question.
So yeah, I think this is Steve Knutson. I manage the program, and we do see good reduction in speeds after the devices are installed. Good part of that is probably the placement of the devices. I do think where they are located does have an impact. The reduction probably radiates out from that location a bit, but the way the road is laid out and with the traffic circle and the cul-de-sac with the pass-through at the top end, it does seem to be a fairly sufficient plan to hopefully reduce the operating speeds.
And one last just follow up on that, if I could, and then I'll pass the baton. The speeds were greater during the survey period northbound, which is this stretch. And so I guess it's downhill. These two things are, in the way we're looking at it, is downhill. So I assume that's because people go faster downhill than uphill, and then that would hopefully, you have a sense that it would reduce the speeds going downhill as well as uphill.
Yeah, we're hoping so, definitely, that it would make people, have to, brake a little bit as they cross over that device.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you. And at this time, I would request that everyone remain muted until they are called on to be unmuted. That just lets the person talk without any sound in the background. If you're having a hard time raising your hand, please type in the chat and we'll try to get to you as soon as we can. So we have Matt. You can go ahead and you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great, thanks. Hi, everybody. My question is with respect to what we're working back from here. I mean, for those that initiated this proposal, I'm just curious as to what problem we're trying to solve. I've lived in this community for over 20 years. I'm not aware of any episodes caused by traffic speed. And then part two of that is, why is only this side of the reserve voting on this proposal when we're all part of this same community? We all have to access both sides of the community, if you want to think of the guardhouse as a divider. Why limit it to just this section of the reserve when we're all paying homeowner association dues and so forth as one community? So sorry, two-part question, and just curious as to the origin of this. Why, and then why not the whole community voting? Thanks.
So I do believe if any of the task force members are on board, they can maybe speak to the first part of the question better than I, but I would assume that they were concerned about some of the speeds that they were seeing on Dominion Reserve, and that's why they decided to go through this process. And regarding the ballot area, we generally look to see if people living on an adjacent street have direct access to the greater transportation network without using the road that's being considered for devices. And if they do have a way that seems, reasonable, then they're generally not included in the ballot process. This is not stopping people from driving on the roadway, but it is just focusing on the tighter group to help make the decision if these devices are placed.
Thank you. Yeah, I live on the Centrillion side of this community, and I would just say that's to the earlier questioner's point. It's much more of a downhill slope. And so if speed is a concern on the Dominion Reserve side, I don't know why it's not a concern on the Centrillion side. And again, I'll just tell you my point of view. This is one community. I think we should all be voting on this. And then I just think we have such bigger problems in this community to solve, like lighting on the streets, very dark in certain sections. And as we all know, Wi-Fi is atrocious. So why not focus our energies collectively on those problems and not this one? Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have, I think, Kim, you're the lead on the task force. You can go ahead and unmute yourself if you have anything to say in response to that question.
Okay, I'll just follow up quickly. My name is Kim DeBio Doherty, and over the past 2 years, we've had a number of complaints about speeds in the neighborhood, obviously on the Centrillion side, as well with the Dominion Reserve. I don't think that from what we've witnessed and what has been reported that 38 is what we're seeing to be the maximum that people are driving on our roads, especially these primary arteries. So that's why the task force or the security committee was asked actually back in 2023 to start this process. And it's been handed off to this current committee, and you're seeing the result of the work right now. As far as your other questions with Wi-Fi and lighting, those are other projects that the committee is addressing. As you know, and I feel free to call me offline. I'm not going to take our time from this project, but happy to speak with you about those two other issues. And we did go through the process of evaluating the traffic on Centrillion, which is probably, we have greater speeds on that road, but we did not hit the car count required by the county.
Yeah, that is correct. I think we had a total of 393 trips in the 24-hour period that we counted in. So they were, about 107 trips short.
Okay, thank you, Kim. So we have Leah Durant. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, and if you are having issues with either your mic or how to unmute yourself, feel free to write in the chat, and we will try to answer any questions that you might have. Also, if you're on and you're having a hard time, just I would go up to them. Oh, there we go. I hear you, Leah.
Okay, great. This is Leah Durant and her husband, Mike Milmo. We're both here. I don't know Matt from the Centrillion side, but I do agree with everything he said. I guess my question is, when Ryan was going over his presentation, he gave a couple of different options for traffic calming. Has the idea of having some kind of a garden or something been eliminated? Because it sounds like we're just talking about the speed bumps, which I think are inappropriate for our neighborhood for a couple of different reasons. One is, we're all blessed to live here. We have very nice cars as a community, and I'm just afraid that our visitors and even ourselves, who might be going absent-mindedly, might hurt a very nice car and cause thousands of dollars of damage. So I think there are bigger fish to fry in the neighborhood, and I generally oppose it. I also agree that the Dominion Reserve side is the flatter side. I haven't lived here as long as Matt, but as long as we've lived here, I've never seen kids drag racing or something of that, nature. I know some neighborhoods, we used to live in a neighborhood about 15 years ago that that was a problem. We had a straightaway there in Clifton, Virginia, and the kids would come and they drive their, cars that are all muscled up or whatever at high rates of speed late at night on a Friday or Saturday night. That was a problem. But I guess I don't see the problem here. And I'll just turn it over to Ryan to explain if we have to have them, if the vote is enough, and they go against sort of what Matt and I are recommending, then is some other non-vertical option available to us. Thank you so much.
So we did look at other devices, and these were, what we felt were the best fit for this roadway, as far as, not being in front of somebody's house and denying access with like a raised median or something like that. We do have some examples nearby. I think there's a speed table on Forestville Drive, and then quite a few on Tolston Road or Drive as you go down into Wolf Trap. So if people are concerned about crossing over, and the speed table is the more less aggressive of the two devices that we offer as far as vertical deflection is concerned. So if they are, concerned about what it is going to be like to traverse that device, they can go down, Tolston or to Forestville. Forestville is just off of Route 7. And the same with Tolston Road.
And to touch on what you're saying, Steve, Forestville also has speed hump as well. So you can definitely tell the difference between the two devices as you traverse over them. So just keep in mind that we're proposing only speed tables and not a speed hump.
Yeah, and I think there is also one on Tolston, then the rest are speed tables.
That is correct, yes.
And can I say, this is Kim again, that we also considered medians. Somebody earlier had spoken about gardens, and we have a median on Centrillion, which truly is, it's a wide median. We have grass and trees and whatnot, and that was put in by Miller when they built the community, and those were not options available to us going through the county. They were longer in length. I want to say maybe 100 feet with striping and vertical poles. So that's why we opted to go with the least impact visually with the speed tables.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, and then we have Nina Yim. You have your hand raised. You could go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the committee for bringing this to vote and ultimately putting these speed bumps in. As somebody who lives on Dominion Reserve Drive, I can attest to the fact that the speed of the cars that are going by is actually quite fast. And I had young kids for a while as I've been living in this house, and they were under strict instructions to wait at the end of the driveway because the cars are coming in, and before they hit the circular drive, the cars are going really fast. I was actually not surprised by the numbers that you posted there because I'm also walking the dog morning and night. And so it's something that I see often, and I've been asking about this for a long time. And so I'm very thankful for this vote. And I actually am very much for these speed humps or whatever it is, because I actually think it's a big problem.
Okay, thank you, Nina.
Thank you, Nina. And Kim, you still have your hand raised. I'm not sure if you have any questions. You're welcome to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sorry, I need to figure out how to take my hand down.
Oh, no, you're fine. It would just be the same icon that you click to put it up. Okay, so we don't have any more questions coming in the chat or hands raised. So we can leave it open for some more. Oh, we did just get one hand raised. So Art, You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello. It's more like a comment than a question. So
Okay.
the whole community was invited, and we have what, 28 minus staff, county officials, who have 20 people who joined. If this needs 43 votes, like there's no chance on getting this through unless people just somehow did not connect today. But I'm on Centralian Drive, so like I'm open to go with the majority, whatever community decides, but it seems like there are not no votes to get this through based on today's
Yeah, I
turnout.
mean, it's not unusual. We do these meetings quite often, and it's not unusual to see a lower turnout than what is needed to pass the ballot process. It's, I mean, you generally are not going to see, all 80 people that are in the ballot area, log on, or even, the 50% of those. So, 23 is actually a pretty good turnout for this meeting. So I was quite impressed.
Well, it went out to 166 residents,
Okay.
not only to 83.
Right. So what I'm saying is, to see 23 people log on for this meeting, it's a pretty good turnout. So,
Okay, got it. Thank you.
But I think he's asking, why isn't the entire community voting? Why just one half?
Well, I
don't
think
think-
it was answered because our side of the community didn't. I mean, it was separate tests done, as those roads are in Fairfax VDOT mined, or two separate roads not interconnected. Again, I'm just making this up. I think that's how they look at it. So two separate tests were done, and our side did not pass the LACMUS test. We did not have enough cars passing within 24-hour period to qualify.
yeah, and that is correct as far as qualifying for the program is concerned. Then we also did talk about why the ballot area is the way it is. It's the fact that, Centrillion does have direct access to 193. So, and that's how we came up with the ballot area that we do have.
Yeah,
We do
I'm sorry
understand that we don't base the ballot off of the HOA lines or HOA district lines for you guys. So we do it based off of the road design rather than how the district of the HOA, how far it goes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and thank you, Art.
Okay, and then we have Rhonda. You have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. I'm Rhonda Salem. I'm a member of the task force. I was kind of leading this whole project. And thank you, Nina. We've been working on this for a couple of years. I live on Centralian, and I was disappointed that I didn't know when they were going to do the count. Otherwise, I would have gone up and down the road. I happened to be out of town the day they did the count. So clearly, we didn't know. I attest the lower count on Centralian due to the mess that's taking place up on Georgetown Pike and the Beltway, and people tend to avoid that, myself included. If I go up there and there's traffic, I turn around and go out the other way. So anyway, thank you, Nina, for recognizing our efforts. I want to also reiterate what Kim said. The county did, in their plan, initially put some raised medians, but it wouldn't look like what we have over on Alvamar that the developer put in, that Miller and Smith put in when the neighborhood was built. It would look differently with long lines on the street. And as Kim said, we felt that the speed tables were the least intrusive visually. We, as a committee, would like to have the county recount on Centralian to see if it will qualify. I live kind of in the bottom of two hills, and fortunately I don't have any young children, and my grandchildren play in the backyard, so nobody's out front, but they do go speeding by me, and I do have difficulty. I've got to look to the left, to the right, to the left again when I'm pulling out of my driveway to make sure somebody isn't whipping around the corner. So they do speed. In any case, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that Centralian was tested and it just didn't qualify in terms of the number of cars, as Kim said.
And we can recount it if requested. You can also wait. I know that the construction on 495 in the Georgetown Pike area has been going on for a little while, and it might continue for a little while longer. But if you would like us to do one more data collection, we can do that to see if the volumes have changed any. We would just need that request.
Let's see how this all goes.
Okay. All right. That sounds like a good idea.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. And then we have Demirzi. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Hussein Demirji, and thank you all for attending. It showed. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Thank you for attending, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you for all the hard work. We know that when we set this up 3 years ago, because we saw so much speeding happening, was one of the reasons to those who were asking questions about this. We do want to do Centrillion, as Rhonda has said, because we've seen so many cars speeding up and down, and we were unfortunate that on the day that VDOT looked at it, we didn't have enough cars, which we were unaware of. For those who are asking, this safety measures, we were very concerned about safety, and it's also security for us. One of the things, speeding cars, we all know how safe the areas have become, and we want to try and take control over our roads and make it safe for children to wander around as well. That is just what I wanted to speak to. If anybody has any questions, you should definitely speak to Rhonda and Kim, and I'm always available. And I know that the board itself is trying since 2014 to do something, so past president told me. So thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Art, you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
So just last question. It does not affect me in any way because I'm on Centrillion, but it seems that those two proposed speed tables are very close to each other. It seems like there are better locations, like to spread out. Is it just due to some people being categorically against it, or there are some other obstacles that why they're so close to each other? It seems like the one on the north could be way closer to the gatehouse.
I mean, they aren't that close to each other. I think they're, around 500 to 600 feet apart. And Ryan does have the map up right now. I do think that we did get some, we weren't able to get sign off on some of the locations that we proposed. And that is why they are located where they are. But it is also, due to the design of the road and the nearby intersections too. But we do feel that the locations are pretty well placed considering the grade of the road and how it does kind of straighten out on that one part there.
Okay, and so we have Kim, you do have your hand raised. And yeah, I do remember going through this process. We did have some homeowners that were not for the device being at that location, and so we had to remit it. And then also the device placement requirements and utilities on the road kind of made some other locations difficult. Okay, Kim, you can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, this is Kim again. Yes, we kind of had our hands tied on this. We had one location that would in everybody's mind have been optimal, and the homeowner was not willing to sign. They supported the program, but they did not want to have it, near their property. And then as you go down towards the gatehouse, then you have issues with the crossroads and the driveways. You've got, 300 feet requirements, 150 feet. So once you get out and start measuring, a lot of the locations that just looking at the map would appear to be ideal were taken off of the table because of these other constraints. The only other option was closer to the roundabout coming off of Old Dominion. And we felt that the roundabout did enough to slow the traffic right there. So that's why we moved to that second location where you see the big, what does it say there? 166 location. So that's why you have the two structures. I mean, we could have put a third in there, but we thought that might have been overkill.
All right, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
Did have a question in chat from Leah. Mr. Knudsen, you indicated that the tables were selected as being the best option for this project. Can you explain why? Is cost a factor? Are we unable to consider the other option with the garden turnabout? To me, it seems like another roundabout in the middle of the road would make it difficult to pick up speed from the entrance.
Well, we don't have an option for a roundabout in our program. So the traffic circle is no longer something that we can install through this process. But, we do have the raised median, and the task force members did discuss why they moved away from that selection. They felt that the striping on the roadway didn't really suit the visual aesthetic of the neighborhood.
Rhonda, you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute.
I do, thank you. I wanted to mention that I had suggested that a four-way stop be put on Dominion Reserve and Glen Haven, since Glen Haven already has a stop sign in each direction coming into Dominion Reserve. But as Ryan indicated, installing stop signs is not only part of this project or what they do, but there have been no reported accidents at that intersection. And as a result, they said, no stop sign there. I thought that would help a lot and take care of a lot of the speeders if there was a four-way stop right there in the middle. But apparently that is not an option open to us, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the multi-way stop is not an option through this program. That would be something that you would need to go directly to VDOT for. And they definitely have more, kind of pretty stringent requirements or warrants that need to be met to introduce that traffic control device. And they generally aren't going to use it as a speed control. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I believe Natalie did approach VDOT with that, and she was told there have been no reported accidents at that intersection. At least that's my recollection in all my emails and exchanges with the various people that I have been working with at Fairfax County Department of Transportation.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. Okay, and then Leah, you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the last speaker, have there been any accidents that have been reported on Dominion Reserve using the same criteria?
So that I don't know. We don't collect or need crash data to qualify for this program, since the intent of the devices is to reduce the operating speeds. So the multi-way stop or the stop sign is designed to cue traffic and control traffic at an intersection where it's needed on all four legs. These devices are used to help mitigate speeding issues on a roadway.
Wouldn't it make sense to have if we wanted to have a four-way stop there at Glen Haven and Dominion Reserve, that's very close to where I live, and the county turned it down on crash data, accident data, wouldn't it make sense to get the accident data before we decide, how to whether we want these calming devices or not? I mean, if speed isn't causing accidents, that's one factor that I think the community needs to know.
Again, it wasn't the county that turned this down, it was VDOT, and they do use crash data for that qualifying criteria for that device. I mean, you all can, request from the police before you go to ballot what the crash history is on Dominion Reserve, and that can help kind of make your determination on how you vote.
Okay, and then we have Suzanne. You can go ahead and unmute.
Suzanne and John here again. There was a crash on Dominion Reserve 2 years ago. A car, it wasn't two cars, it was a car hit out and took out one of our poles. Technically an accident, undoubtedly speeding at excessive speed was apparently reported. But that's all I know about that. I don't know about other accidents. And the question though about the stop signs, you have to have an accident, I understand, at the stop sign intersection to justify four-way stop signs, and we don't have that data. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. Yeah. For the stop signs, that exactly what Steve said. That's through VDOT. And as Ken Rana said, that they didn't get enough crash data at those to be implemented for that device at those locations. So we are just sticking with reducing speeds along the roadway. So this is why we are proposing these type of devices. Okay, and so we don't see any more in the chat or any other hands raised. We'll go ahead and give a couple minutes in case somebody wants to type in the chat or have any other questions to pop up.
And Ryan, if you want to go to the contact page. If people do have further questions after the meeting tonight, you can reach out to FCDOT at dotinfo@fairfaxcounty.gov email address, and just put Dominion Reserve Drive traffic calming in the subject line, and it will get to one of us, and we will try to respond to that email as quickly as possible. You can also call 703-877-5600 and ask to talk to somebody about the Dominion Reserve Drive traffic calming project. And if you would like to reach out to the Drainsville office, that email address is drainsville@fairfaxcounty.gov. Same subject information, Dominion Reserve Drive traffic calming, and that should find its way to Natalie. Or you can call 703-356-0551 and ask to talk to either Natalie or somebody about the Dominion Reserve Drive traffic calming project.
Okay, awesome. Art, you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, Art Lacunas, I promise, last question. I looked a few years ago when I was on the board very deeply in privatizing the roads, and refresh my memory, is the county owns the roads since we off the bond, and VDOT maintains it, or like I forgot, it was 6 years ago, 5 years ago when I spent time on it.
The state owns the road, so the states own and maintain the roadway. We maintain this or work this program through a countywide process to put these devices on the roadway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just let you guys know again, as Ryan stated earlier, that this meeting is also being recorded. So once we have it available, we'll share it out with Natalie. So if you know of anybody that missed this meeting and would like to review it, please contact Natalie within, I would say, a week or two. We should have a link to her within that time period.
And so following tonight's meeting, the task force should try to reconvene and determine if they want to move forward. We do now offer a follow-up meeting to the community meeting for the task force to discuss how to go through the ballot process. You don't have to do this follow-up meeting, but we do recommend that you reach out and try to set up a date and a time for that. It has been very helpful to some of the recent task forces that have gone through this process. There is a bit of information to review as far as the ballot process is concerned. You can just reach out to Natalie and ask her to coordinate a time and a date for that. And it should last about a half an hour.
This is Kim again. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you to everyone who's run this meeting for our community. And we appreciate all the information you've shared with us as we, talk about next steps and what we need to do as a community. I appreciate it. I think we all do.
Thank you, Kim. And thank everybody for attending tonight.
And thank you all. As Steve mentioned, for the task force, if you want to schedule the ballot phase meeting, please reach out to Natalie, and we very, very highly recommend it to make sure that the balloting process is smooth.
Thank you.
All right, everybody have a good evening and pleasant tomorrow. Thank you for attending.